Hey there and welcome back. Have you ever looked at a map and just wondered, why are some places so rich and others, well, aren't? The answer might be hiding somewhere you'd never think to look. We're talking about their legal code, their legal DNA.
Okay, let's make this real. Imagine you want to start a business. In Canada, it's super easy, just 2 steps. Now try that in the Dominican Republic. You're looking at 21 steps. Now here's the crazy part. Both are democracies. So what in the world is going on here? What's creating this massive difference?
So, when we try to solve a puzzle like this, where do our minds usually go first? Right, to the political system. It seems like the obvious place to start.
We tend to think, oh, it must be a democracy. The idea that when the people are in charge, the economy just works better.
Or hey, maybe you think the opposite. Maybe it's an authoritarian system, where one strong power just pushes things through and gets stuff done without all the debate.
And then, of course, there's always a monarchy, where everything's kept in the family, passed down from one generation to the next.
But here's where that whole line of thinking kind of falls apart. Remember our example? Canada and the Dominican Republic? Both democracies, but with totally different results. So that political label on the outside, it's just not giving us the full picture. There has to be something else, something deeper at play.
All right, so if it's not the surface-level politics, we've got to dig deeper. We need to look underneath the hood at the very source code that a country runs on. And that source code? It's its legal origin. And what's fascinating is that most countries didn't invent their legal systems, not at all. They basically downloaded them. They were inherited, copied, and pasted, you could say, from a handful of mother countries during the age of colonization and conquest.
So this whole process created 2 big, dominant legal families that pretty much cover the entire globe today. You've got common law, which started in England, and then you have civil law, whose family tree goes all the way back to ancient Roman law. And that's our key idea for today. Think of them as 2 completely different types of legal DNA.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. These 2 legal families, they don't just have different rules. They have fundamentally different philosophies about what the government's job even is when it comes to the economy.
And this quote from legal scholar Mirjan Damashka just nails it. He said, civil law is policy implementing. It's about the state getting its way. Common law, on the other hand, is dispute resolving. It's about sorting things out between people and, crucially, protecting them from the state.
Let's unpack that a little more. Under common law, the whole point is to support private markets. Judges are seen as these independent referees, and their rulings create precedents that can actually rein in the government. But in a civil law system, the goal is to carry out state policy. Judges are more like civil servants. Their job is to apply the detailed legal codes that the government has already written. It's all about directing society from the top down.
Okay, so that's the history, the philosophy. But the big question is, so what? How do these ancient legal codes actually impact a country's bank account today? And more importantly, does this solve that Canada versus Dominican Republic puzzle we started with?
All right, let's go back to our first test case. How easy is it to open a new business? Let's see what the data shows when we sort countries by their legal DNA. And wow, the difference is it's huge. In common law countries with that market-supporting philosophy, you see way less red tape. But in countries that inherited the French civil law system, which is very state-directing, it's a bureaucratic nightmare for anyone trying to start something new.
Okay, let's look at another angle. What about protecting investors? If you buy some stock in a company, how well does the law protect you from the bigwigs on the inside trying to rip you off?
And here we go again. The pattern is crystal clear. Common law, with its deep history of protecting private property from the powerful, does a much better job of protecting shareholders. And that's not just some academic point. It means people feel safer investing their money, which in turn builds bigger, more robust financial markets for everyone.
So we've gone through the history, the philosophy, the data. What's the bottom line here? What are we supposed to take away from all this?
Well, the huge takeaway is this. A country's legal DNA, which it inherited centuries ago, has this incredibly powerful and long-lasting effect on its economy today. That ancient code is still running in the background, shaping everything from business regulations to the stock market. And what's really mind-blowing is that this legal DNA can often predict a country's economic outcomes better than its modern political label, whether it's a democracy or not.
And that leaves us with one last, kind of heavy question to chew on. If a nation's economic fate is so tightly linked to laws it inherited hundreds of years ago, how much power do people today really have to change it?
It's a pretty deep thought to end on. Thanks for digging into this with us.